Well, thank you all for uh, leaning into that and kind of having fun. That's a big part of what we do here with this community of improvers is get to know each other, make this large community a little smaller, uh, so that we can reach out to each other when and if we need to. And when there are events where we all get together from all over, we know each other already. So with that, I actually want to segue into one event that's coming up in September. I'm going to zoom in on it. I will share this mural link with all of you in a moment, so that you can all check it out. But this, the Lean Healthcare Academic Conference is going to be September 11th and 12th here at Stanford at the Alumni Center. It's a really fun event. Really encourage any of you to check it out. If you've not been, it's really fun. If you have been, you know, it's very intimate group. We're somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 people that attend it every year, and it proves to be a really, really, really good event. So I will. I'm going to share real fast. I'm going to put in our chat. I'll put the link to the mural, so you can actually click on this and it will go to the site. So if you wanted to register, check it out, see who the speakers are, all that stuff. I do want to ask all of you real fast. You guys have the opportunity for us. Every year I try to do a little kind of fun swag for those who go to attend the event. And I've put a few prototypes of things that I've put together. I like to have fun with data and improvement. And so one of the things I've got here is like a little keychain. They all have the same little logo, but it says I'm special. And if you know anything about control charts, SPC charts, you know that these are called special causes. Any of these things, this is actually a shift. And so it's just kind of a fun little thing. There's the keychains, mugs, oops. And then I also have the idea of a t-shirt. I'm curious what you all think would be the best thing as like little giveaways for that. Any thoughts?
Are you talking to just give feedback about what you have or other
Yeah,
ideas?
well, or other things. Yeah, I mean, you could give other ideas too. These are just a few things. Um, yeah, landscape versus portrait. I know.
I
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Keychain. Keychain sounds like keychain. All right, but give
um
me some ideas, Jose.
yeah, I led the patient experience week here at the children's side, and one thing we tried out was the cross body bags. I think they're like in right now, so I think that they were so everybody wanted them, staff and patients. And even some patients found them useful for carrying either their medicine or their stuff while they were walking around the hospital.
Hmm.
So just throwing that out there, that could be something you might want to look at. I feel like I have tons of cups and tumblers
Yeah.
already. Like I can't fit anymore in either in my at the office or in my cabinets. And also, I like shirts, but what the feedback I got when I wanted to do shirts is that it's a lot of management to get the right
Yeah.
sizes, right? It's like you're gonna have to
Yep.
manage a lot of size. But the other thing the reason is like we repeat the same colors, though the graphics are awesome. So like I have tons of red and tons of gray and black and white ones, but we don't have other colors like maybe a green would be nice that is accepted by
Mm.
marketing to be. So maybe if you are gonna go with the shirt, like try a new color that
Mm.
we haven't
Okay.
had.
Yeah, that's why I've steered away from the t-shirts in the past is the whole management of the sizes and things. Um, oh, donate to the shelter. Yeah. Yeah. Or if you don't want it, you just donate it. Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah. And I gotta make this decision. I'm hoping to make this decision honestly today. Yeah, so very quick. I really want to get this done. So, okay. So I heard the cross body bags. I heard I mean, there is some ideas of t-shirts, maybe different color, but definitely the keychain seems like it's a idea. And if I could get it in the landscape versus the portrait, got it. Yeah, good, good. Okay, I don't want to spend a lot of time on that. It is something that every year do try to have some fun with it for those who come to the conference, and for other things. We put together a little giveaway for those who are part of this group. So let's see. Oh, blankets to fold in their pillows. Yeah, okay, that's cool too. I'll take a look. There's a number of different things, but that gives me some good ideas. So I'm going to put it in here real fast so that I have these as notes. You're also noticing I'm modeling a few things for you all. Like the mural site can be used to keep notes as we're as you're leading a meeting. So this actually works out well. The blankets, pillow, and then water bottle. Okay. And okay, all right, that's good. That is nice. Okay, cool. Now I would like to also, I want to follow up on some things from last month. So after every meeting, each month, we have a chance to, we have you give feedback on what you liked. And I just wanted to also let you know that I put all of the books that were recommended at the bottom. If you want to add some, you know, you all have the link for this. If you have a book that you're reading or that you really like that you'd like to recommend, just put a little double click here and it'll give a little post-it note, make it bigger, you know, like something like this, and go ahead and add one or two or three. It doesn't matter. Just put them all in here. Add some books, even podcasts. If you have some podcasts you'd like to share with us that you really like, go ahead. And it doesn't have to be work related. It could be whatever. So that was one of the things from last month. And then I wanted to go down and follow up on some of the what I wonder. So some of the things people asked about is what could we achieve in healthcare with time, resources, and the mentality of breaking down interdisciplinary hierarchy that exists. So that's more of a big picture thing. Maybe we'll bring that back at another time. Mural has a learning curve. Any tips? So one of the reasons why I try to model or use it and talk through some of the things I'm doing is because, you know, one of the best ways to learn Mural is just jump in and start using it. So I'll try to talk through what I'm doing so that you actually can see that. So if you have questions about any of it, speak up, ask, because other people likely want to know too. Mural is a nice tool. There's Miro, but the nice thing about this is it's a collaborative platform that any of us can use at the same time while we're on a virtual platform. Okay, and then a conference about improvement work failures and what we learned. I don't know of any. I wondered, I was going to float that to the group and see if anyone knows about any conferences that talk about the failure side of improvement. Have you been a part of any? Do you know of any that really have that as a particular focus? I do know, another plug with this, the one coming up in September, our conference, we do have a segment that does talk about failures. So the one this fall will. Christina, go ahead.
Hey, so this doesn't answer the question, but I do want to make a comment that a lot of our improvement conferences, the reason they don't focus on failures is because we don't submit abstracts for our failures. And so if that's what we want to hear about, we also need to be submitting our experiences for when we fail so that we can share for others and model what we want to be hearing. An example I can give, I'm presenting at IHI BMJ Quality Forum in August, and my abstract doesn't necessarily talk about the successes, just that we did this thing. And so if I wanted to go into my failures, there's that space to go into it too.
Good. Joy.
I just went to a symposium. Well, so first of all, I agree with Christina that we're typically trying to say, here's what we did well and here's what worked. But I think a lot of times when we go, we're saying, here's what wasn't working for us, and we're trying to integrate and understand what was working for somebody and what didn't work for us, so that we can help, we can think through that. It's not necessarily a conversation about failures, but I think we have that in our heads. And I just went to the symposium last week on like different lean groups, different organizations trying to come together and say, okay, what hasn't been working, and how do we help make work for people better in the future? And how do so what do we take, how do we keep working on this? And it wasn't necessarily about anybody's successes, but it was about like what are the issues and how do we work on them? So related.
What was that one called,
Yeah,
Joy?
The People at Work Symposium. It was the first year that this had happened. It was a combination of LEI, the Lean Enterprise Institute, Catalysis, which is the healthcare version, Shingo, and then a couple other consulting companies. Yeah, a couple other consulting companies. So there were 7 different groups all together that came with the same broad goal, slightly different ways of doing it and different ways to speak to it, but still, how do we all do it together? How do we get our, like, everybody everywhere better?
Well, and that's one of the ways we do it, is we share our failures, because that's how we can learn. I mean, the successes are fine, but oftentimes we cover over all the bumps and the potholes that we had to avoid to get to those successes. It sure would be nice to share those. Excellent. So another plug, there is an aspect of that in this fall's conference, because we see it as such a big value. And that actually leads into our question actually pretty well. There was a pre-read I gave. I don't know how many were able to read it. If you didn't, it's worth reading. It's a good article in the Harvard Business Journal this month. In here, I'll zoom in on the title. I put the PDF is in both the invite for this, and it's here on the mural. The whole article is right up here, but the main title here is "To Improve Healthcare, Focus on Fixing Systems, Not People." Now, that doesn't, for many of us, that doesn't sound like that revolutionary, but I wanted to focus on one of the sub-themes that I heard in here, and that's the idea that a lot of improvement efforts have failed within healthcare. And, they have their reasons why. A lot of it has to do with focusing on, not focusing on systems, but focusing on culture and leadership and all that. And I think all that's very important. I would like to know from this group, the question number 2 here. So the article references failures with traditional improvement efforts. So what would you say are the reasons that improvement efforts haven't been successful in your area, in your organization, or in healthcare in general? And what can we do to improve that?
One of the things, Brian, that I look at is teamwork, and we can look at systems and processes, but I think what brings people closer together is understanding each other's roles. And one of the things that I do to help that is to do an in situ simulation of whatever it is, whether it's a process or new equipment, a new procedure, that type of thing. And it just so happens that today's email content by James Clear had a quote that I really appreciated. And he said, "In many cases, what you hope to learn by reading books or listening to podcasts can only be learned by attempting what you fear. And then this is the final line, some knowledge is only revealed through action. So that's part of why I believe in simulation.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's one of the reasons why we encourage an improvement to start small and do PDSAs, because action
Exactly.
is that
That's it.
inertia,
Yes.
that movement, right? Yeah, you got to do that. And so often teams will try to craft the perfect test or prototype, and it paralyzes them. And then if it fails, then they're crushed, right? And then the learning, it gets short-circuited. I think that is one of the benefits for, making it small, and then failure becomes just part of the process, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. That's great. Love it. Thank you, Teresa, for jumping in.
Sure.
I think some for us has been learning that to really assess where different teams are to actually start improvements. Because if you try to jump in before they're ready, you just confuse them, and you just and they just don't like the process. And sometimes what the barrier is actually some cultural reframing that needs to happen. And then so you need to just hand off the baton, and actually what you learned is that HR needs to come in there and just reset the culture in there, so people are able to freely think and feel like they contribute. So sometimes they're just not ready to do it because you haven't just done enough investigation if they are. So that's some of the learnings that we'd have. We have to say, we're going to put this on pause because there's other things that need to happen before we even start. So, yeah.
Yeah, make sure the environment is ready.
If people don't
Absolutely.
feel safe to speak up, or if they don't feel like anybody's actually going to take action on what they say, then
Yeah.
Or have you been a part of, go ahead, keep going. I have a question to follow up that.
We start talking now of SMARTY goals, inclusion and equity. And sometimes we have to realize that we have to bring voices that have never been brought up. Are we always bringing to the table the people, the star people that we've designated star, and not really letting other people come up with a journey? So also being aware of that, so that the whole team grows and not just a few people.
Yeah, that's good. Couple of things I heard in that interchange. Well, one of the things I heard is the idea of making sure it's a safe environment, psychologically safe. That's something we talk about in our Teamwork Advisory Council, another group here through the center. That's a big topic. And if we don't have a safe environment, failure is not an option, right? I mean, no one wants to fail because failure gets punished, or looked down upon. And so having a safe environment is required for improvement. So I love that, setting the stage, making sure the environment's right, absolutely critical. Another thing that I've seen, I don't know if anyone else has seen this, but it something you said, Jose, made me think of it. Is like, have you ever been a part of a team where it seems like they brought you in for an improvement, or brought the team in for an improvement, but the solution was already determined? It seems like it was already predetermined. And so like you were there to improve a process, but you really weren't. You were there and to almost make it look like they did the work to get to the improvement, but they already had something in mind. So you were there to kind of make it look like, I don't know, that they'd done all the right steps to get to improvement. You ever been a part of that?
Ryan,
Yeah. What's that?
Like you're talking about my life. And then there's always that moment
gosh.
when I get there, I'm like, hey, I'm really glad y'all have done so much thought work already, but we need to take a step back and do this together. And not everyone wants to take that step back to really do it together.
Yeah. Yeah, someone has to be brave to speak up. A lot of the ones I've been a part of, it's the leaders that set it up, and you're like, well, how do you say, how do you give that feedback to the leaders? Because what you're doing is demoralizing the team, and every time they're going to tell everyone else that you go to these improvement things, and it's not really, they really don't want your input. They really want you to, I don't know, roll out whatever idea they have. And so it really will kill any improvement efforts. So I've seen that as a real, a real killer of improvement is that kind of thing, where it's just a couched way to have the leaders impose their will on employees. It's not been done a lot, but I have seen it done.
Yeah. I think that's where as improvement specialists, you bring out the tools that make you say, hey, have you done these steps, or have you, like the A3 thinking, and you really find out, like, oh my God, we went from A to Z and none of the middle is really thought out. So that could be a valuable tool to help them understand we need to ask more whys and really understand what we need to do, and not just come up with a solution that's really a band-aid, or it's not, or it's going to be forgotten. People are going to be frustrated with it because it's one person thought about it and that's it. So
yeah, that's good. That's good. Others, really good.
One thing that Teresa shared that stood out to me is like the actions of an individual show the lack of knowledge. So I mean, it can be very easy to assume that everybody is at the same level of understanding of the project, the improvement we plan to achieve, and the process, but not everybody can be at the same level of knowledge of what we are trying to achieve and how it matters for the department or for the organization. Some impacts can be not as huge, but others can be huge, like financial impact and impact to the organization overall. So many of the things can just be at the management level and not trickle down to the individual team member, like from the hierarchical perspective, I would say, from top to bottom. So I would say the more the knowledge dissemination in terms of how it matters, what matters, and having a big picture of the project itself is important, I would say, at individual level. And then I feel like having this improvement tools or even the processes as part of health streams, like, can bring employees on board with, like, there are departments within the organization that are willing to partner and walk you through if that's the help we are looking for. So I thought, like, I came to know from my manager very late that there are, at least myself, that there are departments that are willing to help and share their experiences. So I think not every employee need to wait that long to know. Like, there are things that, like, that are, and the members within the organization that are willing to help. So those are my learnings, I would say. And of course, being on board, like, level of preparedness and what can be done to have them be prepared to engage and contribute is something that I thought is important for a successful improvement project.
Yeah, that's good. One of the things I heard, and I'd love to hear other feedback on what you just shared, but the thing I think is absolutely critical, something we talk about a lot, is the importance of understanding why and communicating that throughout the organization before you even move forward. A lot of times that's not done, and so people are left wondering, why are we here, or is this even a problem? or this really isn't, well, how does this connect with anything? And so you mentioned the idea of alignment and alignment to goals and establishing the why. I think those are critical pieces. Thoughts from others?
Another thought I heard was basic education, that you can't improve if you don't know how. So like Jose mentioned, A3 thinking, like how to, like, what is the process? And like, so if you just say, go do it, but they don't know how, just walking them through first time so that they understand the process and then they can do more going forward. Another one that I think of is making time, that very often, especially our frontline clinical teams, like they're working 24/7. Like if they're on, and making time for them to be able to reflect and figure out what they want to work on and how they're going to work on it and can iterate on things is hard to do. In some areas we do great, and in some areas not so much.
I also think, speaking to them in their language, this article talked about speaking to people in their language, different roles, think differently, speak differently. And sometimes when working on how to documents or stuff that our team does, sometimes I was like, I would like to partner better with actual people who know education and who know how to build things. So it's at a level that most people can understand. Because sometimes I think, I'm writing it how I know how to write it. But is it really written for everybody to learn from this? And maybe that's something, a system we need to build better, to partner with our learning development teams to actually learn, how does organization learn? What's the level that we need to do these documents or videos?
I listened to a little talk yesterday morning, and it was a lot about that. And one thing they said was, come up with your, like a persona or a couple of personas. It's like you have your brand new staff member who, like, this is their first job, and so then you have a sense of who that person is, and you also have an experienced manager who blah blah blah. And that way, when you're creating something, you have them in mind and you're not just making something random. And then another thing they said was, a piece of what you're doing is in a class, but there's so much around it. So what can you be developing outside of a specific class for your learners to be able to integrate things and make sure that it makes sense to them?
Was that, Joy, was that session at like 7 a.m. yesterday? Blanchard group? Yeah. That was good. I think they have
Did you
that
listen to
recorded.
it?
Yeah, I did. They had like 10-minute little
Yeah.
mini course.
To
Yeah.
prep people for wanting
Excellent.
to go to their conference in October. I think I'm sold. I want to go.
I think it was wasn't that a brilliant way? So they,
Yeah.
as a way to promo or kind of prep their conference, they did these little teasers of 10 minutes each, where they gave a little content about what they're going to talk about at the conference. And so there were 5 of them, and they were excellent. They had it really tight. They had it down. I mean, they did not go over, and they did a really good job. They were very good presenters. Obviously, it's a learning and development course and group and conference, so they're experts at this, but they were really good. I was like, dang, yeah, nice. I thought the same thing.
Yeah, it's in Dana Point.
We have that
in October. If anybody wants to go with me.
Yeah, I think I might. That's down near where I grew up. That's my kind of my hometown area. So
Yeah.
I'd love to.
I work
Love
there. I
to
have
go
a bunch of
check it
friends
out.
there too.
Yeah. Other thoughts? We got some good stuff. I'm taking a few notes. on the mural. If you want to check it out, you can add to it too. If you don't want to speak up, you can use the chat. You can also add little post-its onto the mural. Any of those are welcome.
I guess one of the thoughts that I had reading this article is like, I totally agreed. Like, the reason that improvement fails is for these system issues. We're not addressing the system issues. But it also made it sound like it was really easy to address the system issues. And
Yeah.
I feel like I don't say that, oh, my thing is failing because of culture or leadership, and I'm not referring to the system. I'm saying it's failing because of culture or leadership as a way of saying the system is so broken that I don't have the influence to fix the system at the play that I need to just yet. So the culture's not ready, the leadership's not ready, right? And I think like,
Yep.
oftentimes when we're working in such strong silos, as I find sometimes we are, like if you are noticing system issues don't exist in your silo. They exist when you're interacting with the other silos. So like then you're like stuck, well, I can't interact with the other silos. I can only interact with my silo. Then you're forced to be like these improvements on the individual and these things that we're trying to avoid. Because
Well,
we're
what
too
does
stuck in
what does
here,
that
right?
require? So what does that require? It's an interesting piece. So that requires something.
I mean, like more communication and like breaking down silos and more visibility, or I
Yeah.
guess I
Yeah,
don't
all of that.
know.
I think so. What it requires, I think, is some leaders who can help to see that, because you could see that, and individuals can see that. But if the leaders don't see that, then what we have is a bunch of competing silos, and then we have this possibility where we have individuals or groups sub-optimizing the system because we have competing priorities. I love there was an example in our advanced course for improvement science. One of our instructors has shared over the years about this auto manufacturer where there was the engine group and the transmission group, and it doesn't really matter what group, but there's two different groups, and they had a set budgets. Okay, this sound familiar? You know, departments that have set budgets, and there was a technology that would save the cost, reduce the cost of building the car by say $500 a car or something like that. It's significant on a large scale, but it would require that the engine group spent more. The transmission group would actually spend less. Do you think that change actually happened? And why or why
No,
not? So I've seen no from Jen. Why not?
Well, I guess I've had that situation, experience here, and it's that everyone's being tasked to improve their areas, that no one is willing to make their areas worse. And we don't feel the effects of the other areas when we work in a silo. So yes, that other area is improving. Yes, the organization as a whole is improving, but the language of the organization was everyone needs to improve their own areas. So why would you not improve? Why would you go the opposite direction knowingly? And you'll get no benefit probably from that. That leader in that area got no benefit probably.
Yeah. Other thoughts? Thank you. That's excellent.
Yeah, when we say it's when we set goals, like, you know, it's the goals that compete against each other that drive you to say no, because then you're held to, did you meet that goal by the end of the fiscal year? And so sometimes these processes that we have compete against each other. We're saying we should think about ourselves as a whole organization and a continuum and all this stuff. But then for your work and your supervision, you really are held to this part of the whole process. And it could be tough. It could be our leaders feeling vulnerable. So yeah, I think it won't happen until we all start thinking as a team and not as an individual.
Yeah, let me be clear. This is not easy. You know, it's not like, I mean, leaders just need to think different. This is not easy because it requires them to be vulnerable. You're right. And do things different than it's been done before to be able to get this done. And you're right, Jen. So just as the punchline, I think you probably all realize it failed, that failed miserably in that scenario, that car manufacturer, because who wanted to take a hit, go over budget? Well, certainly not the engine group, because they were not looking at it as a system. They were looking at it as their individual parts. And so, yeah, they weren't about to change it. But if a leader had seen that and said, okay, hold on a minute, I see what's going on here. We're going to look at the budget for the whole group for this particular thing, or maybe adjust it didn't take away from theirs, or something. I don't know what the solution is, but there needs to be a system fix, right? And so it does require, a lot of these do require leadership thinking differently. And it doesn't all fall on the leaders, of course, but like there is a piece of the system that's really hard. And it does require change at a level that if we don't have that, you really aren't going to be able to accomplish that. One other plug I'd like to share with all of you, if you want to take this to even another level, or even going beyond system of organization, but healthcare in general, there is a really clever game called Wasted. It's not what you think. It's not like it's not like Red Solo Cups or anything. It's actually about healthcare and waste in healthcare, and how if we focus on what we're talking about here, this initial first step of improvement, we'll get some improvement, we'll get some minor gains, but we might actually sub-optimize our overall improvement. Then there's a second level of improvement that we can achieve if we start working together. And then there's a third level where we start changing legislation, we start looking at things across the system, across all systems, and then we're able to achieve real savings in healthcare across systems. It's an excellent game. I've got several copies of it. We use it in our advanced course for improvement science. If you take the course, you get to play it. If you've never taken the course, or you don't plan to, we could probably even set up with this group if people are interested in to play the game. I don't know, we could play it virtually. It's kind of complicated, so it'd probably be in person, maybe an outing that we do in the future, but it addresses a lot of stuff and really interesting, lots of fun. We are about at time. I'll give a last word to anyone if you want to, and then I would like to close by asking people to do our survey at the bottom, which is the I like, I wish, I wonder, where you'll add your comments that help us to improve each time, so that we know what you liked about this, what you wish we would have done, and what you wonder what we could do in the future. And I'll drop the link in again, but I'd love to hear any last words from anyone.
There was one comment, and I can't find it now because the search isn't working, but it was talking about intentionality, and that you have to intentionally know the system, intentionally work on the system. And I went to somebody's Gemba yesterday, and we were trying to figure out what about it, because she kept talking about all of these improvements that her team was working on, and I think, but it still felt a little nebulous. And so in terms of how do we create a system that actually improves, I think what she was missing was that intentionality. And so it was it kind of fuzzed everything out if you don't know what you're working on and why and exactly how.
Joy, I really like that comment, because I think about our work environment where we've really committed to aligned autonomy, which means there's certain paths towards improvement that will not work in our environment. And so thinking about the system you've committed to and how you optimize that, and if you're not being intentional, you will run up against a wall that's never going to move. And so making sure you hit the ones that you can move.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan, real quick question. If somebody puts in the wish, I like, and you want to upvote it, how would we do? What, like, instead of writing,
just double click.
Yeah.
Instead of writing what?
another note that says the same thing if you like what they said and you want to upvote, meaning,
Oh,
Put a little icon,
Yeah,
so
you
there's little stars or little thumbs ups.
Okay.
yeah, you can do that. You can, yeah, there's a little over here. There's icons, shapes, connectors. Well, hold on, not those. Where are they? Right here, icons. Yeah, just do a little checkbox. Grab that checkbox. Ooh, it zoomed way in, but make the checkbox and then just bring it up and something like that.
okay.
Yep. Something as simple as that. So I saw that Christina, Jose, Jen, all liked that. Maybe others. Cool. You might put your name so I know who to reach out to. That might be nice. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, not because I don't, you guys can keep going. I just don't want everyone to see
You weren't
everyone's
sharing your screen.
notes. Oh, I wasn't. Oh, I wasn't. Good. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'd taken off the share so we could see each other when we were talking, so good. But I thought I still had, so thanks for that. All right, so while we've got this, Christina, maybe I'm just dense, but don't answer that, please, Christina, because I know you probably answer truthfully. Charty, who's Charty? Or is that
Oh my
something
gosh,
am I just
Charity
missing?
Party is a game I know that you would love. It is like
Oh,
against humanities, but you put a chart that's missing a y-axis down, and
oh
everybody
gosh,
cards for what that y-axis is. And you throw down the
I
one,
would love that.
and then the person who's voting chooses the y that makes the most sense with the x that's there and the
That is
line
so
that's
silly.
on the graph.
That sounds awesome. I'm gonna look that up. Dude, that sounds fun. Okay, yeah, let's do it. Okay, and may even do that. So we have a couple of there's a couple of dates coming up that we've got a lot of people on campus. So we've got our advanced course coming up in on the 3rd starting, and then we have the Lean conference starting on I think or the 10th. So maybe I'll try to arrange it somewhere in one of those times. Let's do it. Okay, all right. Thank you, everyone. This was a lot of fun. Great conversation. Really felt like I learned a lot. Hope you all did too. And hopefully you'll tell others and come back next time. All right. All right. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Take care. Bye-bye.